Hey, today I'm talking about 3 stop-motion animated kids horror movies from the teens. And the names of those 3 movies are The Boxtrolls, ParaNorman, and Frankenweenie. Let's do the biz. Boxtrolls. This is a 2014 American movie, and this movie's really interesting because it's really good, but it also has an incredibly problematic issue. So the premise is, underneath this cheese-obsessed British town lives a bunch of trolls that have boxes for clothes, but amongst them is a boy, and the villain of our story is dead set on hunting down and killing all of the box trolls, and of course our hero can't have any of that, and our hero is the boy who lives amongst the box trolls. Okay, so let me first talk about the good stuff, because there's a lot. It has lots of heart. I really love the main girl in it. She's really fun and funny and just a well-rounded character. I love the box trolls themselves. They're silly but fun and they make sense. There's a good strong logic to them. I loved how their identity was tied to what they were wearing. So like the boy goes by eggs because he has a box with an egg logo on it, and it's just like, I love it. It's great. I'm oftentimes a fan of stories where like children are smarter than adults, or like parents just don't listen to children because they're just children. Who gives a shit what they're saying, even if like they're being very serious, they're just a child, so whatever, screw them. And then it leads to more problems because adults don't listen to children. The world that they created was really interesting. The solution to everything was really interesting. I also loved like how the henchmen are very convinced that they're the good guys and they're doing good guy stuff, but then they also have lots of conversations about morality and just other philosophical questions, and it's great. The entire cast is great. Okay, but what's the big problematic issue that gives me pause? Well, the villain is a drag queen. Yeah, so to spread propaganda about the box trolls, the villain dresses up as a woman and puts on a cabaret, and then of course once she is revealed to be a man, everyone's incredibly grossed out by this. What's interesting too is that thinking about the messaging that doesn't have to do with the villain is really good, and it's really progressive. It's about accepting yourself for who you are. Don't let society tell you who you are. You decide who you are. Also, like, mom mentality stuff isn't good. Think critically, to listen to children. Do all these sorts of things. I don't know. I don't think it would give me such pause if there were just more women in the movie. I feel like that would make things a little better. Just because besides Madame Fufu, the drag queen, you got the little girl, who's a very well-rounded character. But other than that, there really aren't any other women in the movie. I don't know. I could probably talk about this for a while, and I might make an entire video just about this aspect of this movie, because I'm definitely very torn on this. Okay, so would I recommend this movie? It's really good besides the really problematic part. So I would say yes, even though it does perpetuate dangerous stereotypes of trans people, just because you yourself are an informed adult that, you know, being mindful of it, it hopefully won't give you negative thoughts about trans people. And I would say if you're gonna show this to a child, I think you can, but it deserves to then have that conversation about how trans people are real people and they're not vile, terrible, awful people. They're good people. So yeah, it's really good, even with a giant problem, and I would recommend it, just kind of cautiously, I guess is the best way to put it. Next up is ParaNorman. This is a 2012 animated film, and the basic premise is this little boy can see ghosts, but his family doesn't believe him, and everyone else in the town hates him for it. They just think he's some weirdo and that he's making stuff up. But wouldn't you know it, he uses his abilities to save the day from an evil witch. Crazy. And it's pretty good. I definitely liked the messaging of the film. It has a really good cast, and the cast gives it very good performance. And I love the ideas in the movie. What really brought it down is that it's just so goddamn ugly. Like, besides Norman and one other character that I can't say because it's spoilers, everyone else is just the worst looking person. And like, I'm sure part of that was intentional because part of the messaging is the monsters aren't the monsters, we're the monsters. It's the mob mentality sort of thing is what's hurting society, not these outcast weirdos. That makes sense, except for the ugliest character is the mom, and that's the nicest person in the movie. So yeah, it was really hard for me to just like suspend my disbelief and get sucked into the movie, because I'm just like, everyone is so ugly and I hate everything. So yeah, would I recommend this movie? Yeah, I would recommend it. It's good, it's solid, it's definitely worth a watch. It's an interesting story with interesting characters. It's just really ugly, but hopefully you don't see it as ugly as I do, so you can get past that to enjoy it more than I did. So yeah, pretty good movie, totally recommend. And lastly is Frankenweenie. This is another 2012 film. This one's a Tim Burton film. And the basic premise is Frankenstein, except it's a dog. Okay, so this movie's cute. It's fun. It's interesting. It's a love letter to classic horror movies, in particular like older monster movies, but also some stuff that's a little bit more recent. What kind of put me in a bad mood right away was during the opening credits, it says it's based off an idea by Tim Burton. And it technically is. He made a short film in the 80s that's the same sort of concept. I think it's also on Disney Plus. And so it is based on that. But the story is just the story of Frankenstein, except with some other stuff mixed in, and the ending's a bit different. So it just really rubbed me the wrong way. I mean, it is true that it's based off his idea, and you don't have to credit public domain stuff, but it feels kind of disingenuous that it's like, oh, this is my idea. But it's not his idea. It's a slight variation on a public domain thing. There's obviously no ill intent because the movie's a big love letter to Frankenstein and other monsters. It just bothered me. The other thing is, something that I dislike about most Tim Burton movies, is that his characters have to look like him. Like the darkness around his eyes in particular. And like, if it wasn't essentially all of his movies, I would be fine with it. But it's like, I don't want to watch a movie by Tim Burton that's about Tim Burton again. And just like with the look too, it feels wrong. Like the parents also have like slight darkening around their eyes. And I'm like, no, don't do that. Don't give everyone this same weird trait. Stop. My complaints are both minor things, but they really dug at me and really took away from the experience. I will say that my brother Kyle really enjoys this movie, but it's very sad for him because, you know, the dog dies and then gets brought back to life. It's Frankenstein. So he has difficulty rewatching it. I mean, that's something. It is possible to enjoy this movie without getting hung up on little things. So even though I was kind of more lukewarm on it, I would still recommend it if you're interested. It's definitely not a bad movie, and it does inspire me to watch some classic monster horror films that I'll probably get around to eventually. So it's definitely not bad. It just didn't strike the right chord with me, but there's a good chance it can with you. So yes, would recommend. Alrighty, now for today's rankings. First up, we got the Boxtrolls sitting at number 79 in the really liked. It is literally the last movie of the really liked because of its big problematic issue. And then after that is ParaNorman sitting at number 142 in the quite like section. It's actually almost at the very bottom of the quite like section. And then bringing up the rear, not too terribly far behind, is Frankenweenie sitting at number 151 in the liked section. And this is a total of 231 old movies so far this year.